Vimal Shah, thank you so much for doing this interview. It's a pleasure to speak to you finally on camera. Vimal, I'd firstly like you to ask you about the conference. You've been here for both days, Kenya Takeoff. I've been following you on Twitter, I know you. I think you're relentlessly optimistic. I think the two of us are probably the most optimistic people in this country. What did you think of the conference? Do you think it did what it set out to achieve?
I think this conference was right time. The fact that we are ready for takeoff is not known to a lot of people. And I think it's important to get everybody aligned to it, to say, fine, we are really ready for it. Because what I find is a lot of people in private sector are ready and saying, look, let's do it. But you find sometimes decision makers, public sector, a lot of skeptics who say, hey, hang on, are we really there? And they want to get all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. And it's not time for that. It's time to say, let's go, let's take off. And it's all ready. So perfect timing. And I think this is a time when we've got a new governance system, we've got a new government, and there's nothing to hold us back. And there's no excuse for not taking off.
What is confirming to you that we're on the runway?
I think look at everything. Look at the Vision 2030. We look at the political, social, and economic pillars. Okay, political pillar has been sorted out. New constitution done, new government done, all in place. Very, very well done. I mean, safely done. The social pillar will be uplifted by the economic pillar, and it is now the economic pillar that needs to be focused on fully. Of course, with social pillar in mind, to say inclusive. Okay. And I think we're ready for it. We need to let the skeptics out. Things like the Eurobond is a no-brainer.
Yes.
I think we need to do it now, like today, and get it out, because there's enough money parked away looking for avenues to invest in. And I don't think we should be skeptics in that sense. I think we should be really bullish on this. However, the only provisor is to how to spend that money. And I think we must make sure that that money is not spent on recurrent expenditure, on non-productive assets. It should be spent on really improving the productivity of the country and improving the competitiveness. Competitiveness is key. And in that manner, we reduce the whole issue of our uncompetitiveness. We become globally competitive. And then, of course, the job creation will happen.
So you're very, very optimistic that this moment is upon us?
I don't think we have any more speed bumps on the way.
Now, you were talking about the recurrent expenditure and the investment, the money we're investing in productive assets. I mean, I appreciate the fact if we raise all this capital and we put it into infrastructure, the returns we're going to generate are much higher than the cost of borrowing. But are you not worried by the recurrent expenditure component of the current budget as we see it?
I think if we look at the recurrent expenditure, we need to really remove something we call waste. We don't need to do cost reduction. What we need to do is waste reduction. By waste, I mean anything that's not adding value to Kenyans needs to be cut from all budgets. Number one, we need to reorganize government in a manner that is more productive. Okay, serving customers. Customers means the citizens. Salaries.
It's an interesting point you're making to me, that you see the citizen as a customer of the government.
Absolutely. I mean, government services are all towards the customer, and the customer is the citizen. When we are doing that, we must make sure where are the interactions and what does the customer want? What do the citizens want? Just deliver that, number one. Number two, deliver in a manner which is far more productive, less, higher quality, less cost, and deliver it on time, in full, error-free. It's not difficult to do for this government.
Vimal, in your presentation, which was very compelling, I think you scared everybody by the sheer number of jobs that need to be created because of this population, this demographic surge we're seeing. Can you just recapture what you were saying in that so people...
It's a simple factor. We were at 40 million population in 2010. By 2030, we are expecting to go to 67 million. Now that's based on 2.6%, which the World Bank gives us as our growth rate of population. The government says it's 3%. I'm not taking 3%, I'm taking 2.6%. That means 27 million more people in Kenya, right, by 2030. Which means if you take that, divide by 20 more years from 2010, it's 20 more years, it's 1.35 million people being born every year, and therefore the flow through the system coming into job creation, employment status is 1.35 million per annum. Now this could be formal, informal, paid, unpaid, entrepreneurs, whatever, but that's the number of people going into that market. And we need to look at that and say, fine, divide 1.35 million people by 12 months or divide it by per day. And we're talking about 5,400 jobs every single working day. And I say working day because I'm taking 5 days a week. When you look at that statistic, that should be the key performance indicator for every single person, including the president, deputy president, cabinet secretaries, governors, private sector, everyone, and saying, fine, this is what it is. Now we need to break that down and say, fine, who is going to create how many from where? And if we do that, I think it's a manageable problem. In fact, I think it's a nice problem to have because we can solve it. Now, when that happens and people are into employment, that itself creates a bigger market. So your consumption story of middle class going up, from bottom of the pyramid to the middle becomes a bigger story. And then it is self-fulfilling and it does happen.
And you are not really an academic, you're a man who runs a business, $500 million. I didn't mean you're not an academic, but you are a businessman. You're running BIDCO, which is primarily an edible oils business. It's
fast-moving consumer goods, yeah.
Fast-moving consumer goods, $500 million in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. So, that's a big beast of a business you've built up here, and very successfully. How excited are you about the African opportunity? And where do you see this business of yours being in 5-10 years' time? Is it going to expand geographically? What's your target for turnover? What are you looking at?
In Kenya alone, in the next 5 years, we've got to go times 4.
Times 4.
So Kenya should be $1 billion.
In 5 years?
Only Kenya, that's right.
Wow.
Across Africa, we need to go, our goal is to grab, grow and sustain #1 market share across the African markets by 2030. So we've got 17 more years to go, and we want to have our products available in Africa.
And what are you seeing in this market that you're serving? What are the characteristics of it? What kind of growth are you seeing?
Our philosophy is simple. Wherever there are people, there's a market. Where people are having breakfast, lunch or dinner, we need to be a part of it. Wherever there's people staying, they need hygiene products, they need to clean themselves and their surroundings. So we're into those 2 products, hygiene products and of course the personal care and food products. So we think demand is inelastic. But what's going to be important is how we deliver that. We will deliver the highest quality, least cost, and deliver it on time, in full, error-free, wherever they are. And we need to do that in a distribution model, and we're really upping the game there.
You've got lots of competition coming in, right? All the multinationals I meet nearly every day, they're so excited about. They're trying to tap into this market you've tapped into. What gives you an edge against those guys?
I'd put a question to that. What does a multinational have that we don't have? A multinational runs on the best quality, we do the same. They run on professionalism, which we do the same. They run on real-time online IT systems. We run on real-time online IT systems with our dashboards every minute. We've got management systems which are second to none. So there's nothing that we don't have that they have. What they have is presence across the world. They've got big brands across the world, and that's big. So we need to create that. We've got our own brands here, and we're creating them into African brands. Our goal is not to go into Asia, not to go into Europe, not to go into USA. Africa is our turf, and that's where we will stay. And I think that's where we know the turf. Having ground knowledge is important. Having the local pulse is important. You can't have a one-size-fits-all strategy in Africa. And that's where we glocalize. We have a global outlook across Africa, but we localize the stuff. We talk in the language that people want to talk to in their local places. And in that manner, we actually are more versatile. We can actually produce what people want rather than saying, it's a product I sell and across the board you can't change the product.
Vimal, there came a question to you about the manufacturing, the movement of manufacturing, and obviously you're in the manufacturing business, so you have a deep insight into that. And I was in Kampala at the COMESA conference, and President Museveni said the reason we don't have a lot of manufacturing is because of the cost of power. His theory was that it was just that simple. Is it that simple?
Power is one cost. I mean, if you take a factor of production and you look at your total selling price or your total cost price, it varies from 5% to 30-40% if it's cement. It's 30-40% in cement, the energy cost. In our type of industries, is averaging around 6 to 10%. And that's the variation. So that 6 to 10%, if that goes up by 10-20%, it's different. It's not as compelling as the quality of the power and the availability and delivery. Because if we get consistent power, when we run automated plants, we need to have consistent power without any cuts. So quality is far more important. Cost is a factor, no doubt about it. Currently, we need to work on the cost because today it is far more cheaper to produce in Uganda or Tanzania in power cost terms than in Kenya. So we need to work on that. But having said that, It is a factor that needs to be looked at. It's not the only thing for manufacturing. There is the access to markets. There's a whole strategy of saying, what's your philosophy? Are you serving the entire value chain, or are you just at one end, which means just basic processing and you don't know where your markets are? Linking up to markets is the most important thing, because you got to give the market what they want at the price they want it, and deliver it to them in the manner they wanted it.
You know, for a long time, I think people saw these as very disaggregated and small pockets of demand. Are you seeing a bulking up and aggregation of demand with all this urbanization as well?
It's happening. I mean, it's a reality. The demand story in Africa is real. It's a consumption story. It's not the one that's predicated in the West, where they actually say borrow more money and spend on recurrent expenditure and keep spending. And they keep on leveraging their debts. Here, people are spending from savings. And therefore, when they spend money on consumption items or whatever, it's from savings. It's from money that they have. It's not borrowed money. So the banks here are, you can call them prudent.
Yes.
They don't lend to you for consumption. They actually lend against hard assets. And therefore, you don't have money which you can borrow without anything and just use for consumption. So the whole story here is different. And I think it's basic demand coming up. Okay? As we go up and the bottom of the pyramid becomes the middle, your needs will change. Everybody's needs will change, and they'll up the market in terms of saying, I want a branded product, I want a quality product. And that's happening. Today, even at the bottom of the pyramid, quality is an important factor, which a lot of people think, no, they don't care about quality.
Yeah.
They don't care about brand name.
What does that consumer care about?
They care about the brand, they care about the quality. If the price is overpriced, if it's a, call it a Rolls-Royce price, and you can get a Volkswagen, then it's different. But if it's not overpriced, they would want quality. If the price points are same for a non-quality and a quality, people will opt for a quality product. And that's the difference.
Vimal, what are the 3 things in your mind that you would ask the government to do that will make this double-digit GDP happen?
In Kenya?
Yeah.
It's very simple. Facilitate business to go ahead and do what they want to do.
Do you not feel it's a facilitative?
No, right now we don't need any approvals from government, so we are ready for takeoff. There's nothing stopping us from government side. I think what's stopping us is the red tape and the blockages to, I call them obstructions to flow of goods. And that's your ports, your roads, your KRAs, your documentation. If that's done and automated, perfect. The exports from this country, we can export a lot more.
But our exports have been really stagnant.
We have stagnated in exports, and I don't think we'll do well in exports unless we reform the whole export policy. We need to have that green channel system, otherwise the whole surge right now is for revenue collection by KRA, and that means everything is taxed. Now for export authorities or EPZs or whatever, we're not making it easy for them. And I think that's got to be facilitated and made easier, because then we can become a serious manufacturing hub. We allow a lot more exports. Now exports to Kenya, to Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi is not an export anymore. It's a local market. So this is exporting to the rest of COMESA. Okay? And that's crucial to understand. Our whole facilitation program is not yet happening. And that's where we need to really see what's the competitiveness we need to improve on our exports. Serious possibilities there. We just have to tweak it by policy. And just we tweak it by policy, I can tell you we will attract a lot more investments.
So Vimal, well, how would you conclude? What do you think of the situation now, going forward 2-5 years? When do you think the tipping point happens? Or do you think it's behind us?
If you haven't realized the tipping point, it's already happened, number one. We're already taking off. And I think if you're not on the train right now, the train is just leaving the station. So, or you can call it the airline, the plane is just leaving. And I think that's important to realize this is the best time to invest in Kenya as a hub, because it's going to be a big hub. And I think it's going to happen. We've got all the ingredients we require. We've also got the chef, we've got the recipes, we've got the ingredients, and therefore there's nothing that's missing except to say, me and my own self scaling up and saying, let me go for it. So all our entrepreneurs, rather than say migrate, go elsewhere or go to lower areas of lower labor rates or lower places where it's more accessible, I think Kenya is ready for business. The only thing that we need to do as government is also put up probably many more industrial parks.
Yes.
Where industries who want to set up here or manufacturing, we've got them in, like we do in Rwanda. In a day or two, you've got your licenses, you've got everything there, and you can start operating. Another issue is even allowing people to come in from outside and letting their workers come in here. Workers means all the senior level people, allowing them to come here because those skills we need to bring in here. We probably need to have world-class teachers coming in. I think we should open up to world-class teachers in this market because then they give you real high skill. Today we're not attracting them because the work permits are not available for teachers or lecturers. All our universities need to be radically improved in saying, okay, fine, get the best of lecturers and get our students to be world-class. The human capital we have is brilliant. The people we have are brilliant. We operate in all the regions of East Africa or Africa, I think we've got the best of people. We just need to tweak it and say, fine, give them access to the best of education. Rather than all the big man sending their children away for education, let people send their children here for their higher class education. I don't know if you know this, but Nairobi University has the best dentistry program.
I didn't know that.
The world-class dentists come out of Nairobi University. And if you don't know this, find out, and you'll realize that they are really robust. They're world-class. Now, if we can do that for dentists, why can't we do that for all the rest?
Thank you, Vimal.
Thank you, Alykhan.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.